What I see in the human race today, in our life, human life is corrupt because the nuclear testing is ruining our life. Our life today is some parts of our body is not there. Most of the people today is still very sick, and we continue to be sick because we're using something that's not good at all to have those kind of radioactive on our land. Our mother needs our help. We have to give it a lending hand together. All of us together have to really unite ourselves because we're one people. We're all related to each other. We only got one blood here. We got one Mother Earth. We got one water, one air. Those are the reason why the global wound at that time came about. It can continue on because throughout the world, some places, like the Chinese, for instance, they wanted to test their bomb. It's already in the hole, ready to go. Those are the reason why tomorrow morning at 8 o'clock, quarter after 8, I'm going to meet with the Chinese embassy and try to warn them how dangerous it is for them to test. If they test, some other country is going to test. Before we can ever stop those things, we, the people, going to have to unite ourselves together. We're going to have to pray. Praying is a very important part of our life today. We have to pray for what's out there.
3, 2, 1. Stop nuclear testing. 3, 2, 1. Stop nuclear testing. How's the sound, person? Great. Hi, my name's Jose. I want to welcome you to Politically Correct Cooking, a political talk show that emanates from the capital of the most powerful nation in the history of the world. A nation that was conceived through the near genocide of proud and noble peoples. Our guests on this show, from the Native Youth Alliance, Shoshana and Nathan. Come on down.
Hello.
Hey, what's going on?
How are
Glad
you?
to see you.
Hello.
How you doing? Glad you can make it to the show.
Thank you.
Thanks.
I'm looking at this interesting setup here. We've got a bucket full of corn. We have this machine here that you're going to fill us in a little later on what it's about.
Uh-huh.
What's on the menu?
Well, today we're having blue cornmeal gruel and wojate, which is a traditional way of cooking berries.
Okay, sounds good. Well, we got thousands of people coast to coast wondering what's going on. What do we do?
Okay, the first thing we do is we roast this corn in a cast iron skillet for just a few minutes till it swells up a little bit. This corn is from the Southwest. This is blue corn. There are many, many different colors of corn. People traditionally know only yellow corn and maybe white corn. There's also pink corn, red corn, blue corn, black corn, all different colors of corn. They all have different purposes. They're all used different ways. They're all used by different peoples different ways. These corns are also used in El Salvador, by the way, I've been told.
Okay. Well, I know we were discussing earlier Native Americans, the sacredness of food.
Yes.
Can you fill us in on the sacredness of the corn?
Well, the corn is the staple of all the traditional peoples here on Turtle Island. All the nations have a tongue. At the same time, we were given an ear of corn, so that like this one, Hopi blue corn, there was their corn. Among the Omaha people, where I'm from, we had a corn. It was kind of a red corn that we kept, and we grew it along the Missouri banks. It was a way of providing for our generations to come.
One of the local, native tribes here, the Piscataway, would they have their own corn also, or?
Yes, they would. They would have their own corn.
Okay. Well, you're here to discuss the Native Youth Alliance. What is that all about?
Native Youth Alliance is a nonprofit organization that has been just newly incorporated this past November. We're doing a home for children whose parents are in the prison system to give them a stable, spiritual foundation-based home that they can grow up from.
Now, some of the problems facing Native Americans today, I know you were telling me about your own personal problems. Can you fill us in on why there needs to be homes? You were talking about assimilation, a program that I was not aware of that was taking place, say, in the 50s and 60s.
It was a program that took Indian children away from their families, placed them in orphan asylums, in foster homes, in order to give them what the mainstream values were, the mainstream idea, the American dream, to instill that dream into them. At this time, they were not allowed to speak their language, they weren't allowed to continue the traditions. A lot of our corns have disappeared. At a time of Columbus, there were over 600 nations of people here, and now we're down to about 300 nations of people here in the continental 48 United States. But all the languages are still intact, many of the corns are intact, the traditions, the cultures, and this is why Native Youth Alliance was formed, because there's the assimilation is still happening. There's still a low-intensity warfare against the Native peoples in the United States.
This low-intensity warfare that you're talking about, can you give us some examples of it?
Well, one that comes to mind is, at this time, Leonard Peltier is still sitting in Leavenworth Penitentiary for allegedly killing 2 FBI agents. The FBI has come on national television and admitted they don't know who killed the FBI agents. So, according to what I understand, reasonable doubt, you can't convict a person.
And Leonard Peltier has been in jail for quite some time.
17 years now he's been sitting in prison for a crime that he didn't commit. This is part of the low-intensity warfare that what happened was there was 600 unknown deaths all through the Midwest, all through the United States, when there was a big push for the mineral water rights on reservation lands, because there's a lot of reservations that have immense wealth in minerals, in water, in timber, and somebody wants their hands on that. Native people say, well, leave it alone. This is the earth. This is something to respect. This is something to take care of. The water. We only have one water. As Corbin Harney from the Western Shoshone is saying all the time, there's just one water. Since the beginning of time to the end of time, there's only one water. And if we dirty that water, then it's gone.
Some of the other problems facing Native Americans, on the reservation you have mining companies, timber companies that want your land, uranium miners, things like that. It would seem to me that on a reservation, the people living there would, say, have control, but at times it looks like a lot of the major companies have large investments with a number of, say, tribes and nations. How does that come about?
That happens because often the tribal councils in the past were chosen by the U.S. government officials. They were people, and still are often people, who have been through the assimilation process, have gone to boarding schools, have been put in homes and raised in what we consider mainstream culture, and have been convinced to believe in capitalism and the capitalist way, and have been told that what they do when they sell their mineral rights and allow these things to happen on their land is a benefit to their people. That they're doing something good for the people, that they're bringing in money and they're bringing in jobs and they're bringing in all kinds of good things for their people. The traditional way of looking at it is that this is a harm to the earth, that the earth already, where they live, has provided for them for centuries and often thousands of years, and that there's no need for anything else.
Oh, something popped. How's the corn coming along?
Oh, it's coming along fine. It's starting to roast. I'm going to turn the heat down just a little bit because it should just swell up a little bit.
Well, I know corn is a traditional native meal. What other traditional foods do you all...
Traditional foods.
Right, well, like say that were indigenous to this land here before, say, Chris and his gang. Potatoes. Aspirin.
All kinds of things that come from the earth. See, everything that comes from the earth is a gift from our mother. and that these medicines that we use, we should say thank you for these things, and that that tradition isn't really the thing here. It's just a matter of respect for what is given to us freely from our mother.
Now, besides the corn, we're going to roast the corn. We're going to stick it in this contraption here, ground it up.
Yeah, I don't have a traditional grinding stone, and
But
it
this
takes
will
long
do.
times.
Now, the wojate, this is a dessert topping for the blue corn gruel.
We're going to serve it that way. It can also be eaten by itself, usually with fry bread. It's traditionally made from choke cherries, but they don't grow in this area. So today we're using blueberries. You can use other kinds of berries.
Sounds good. Okay. Well, is this a traditional recipe that's been passed down?
Yes, it is. Yes, it is. Like she was saying, choke cherries at one time was widely used because of we could talk to the plants, to the animals, to the corns, to the berries, and the berries and the plants. They said, use me in this way, and I'll provide for you and for your generations to come. But we got to do it in a certain way. We got to say thank you for the land itself, for what it comes out of, but things like the choke cherries, there's not much of them left. And that's because of the colonialism, because the corporate
farmers say,
yeah.
This isn't a good. It's hard to package this cherry, or it's hard to put this potato in a box. Let's go to other things that are easier to do. A lot of species of plants, vegetables, are just being slowly phased out or disappearing.
Phased out and disappearing because the pollution that's going into the waters isn't providing the nourishment. See, we believe everything is related.
I think we got something going on here. This is all set?
This is all done. It's all roasted. It only takes a few minutes. And the next step is to grind it up.
Okay.
This is where you come in.
This is where I come in. Okay. Now, you slide this in here.
What we're going to do is we're going to put some of this in here. In times past, you're going to have to turn this around.
Okay.
See, in times past, we used to have a stone, and you could just
grind it,
My
family's from Mexico, and my grandmother has a stone.
Well, then, you know what I'm talking about. Yeah.
The whole thing, yeah.
Yeah. So, there you go. The other way. Yeah.
Whoa.
Well, see, the old timers, they had those grinding stones. It was a lot easier, because then you didn't have to mess with this technology, Sometimes technology gets a little bit carried away, a little bit complicated, It's like this nuclear waste, we're trying to deal with right now. We're going to have a conference in January. Well, a meeting for a conference in January. That's what it is. And the conference is going to happen. Here, you want to trade?
No, I'm fine. I'll tell you what, we have a video coming up.
Yeah.
The Global Wounds Powwow DC.
Right.
What I want you to do is do a little intro for the video while I'm over here working out.
Okay. So the Healing Global Wounds Powwow, has come about because of what I was talking about, technology unchecked. Healing global wounds, we want to start healing our earth, the water, quit using, a lot of water to cool down nuclear reactors. Consider where we're going to put, the monitored retrievable storage at. A lot of reservations, they want a nuclear-free zone is what we want.
Right.
And a way for this conference, Healing Global Wounds Powwow, D.C., next October 1st and 2nd is when the powwow is. And right before that, the last weekend of September, we're having a large conference where we're going to bring indigenous peoples from all over the United States here to D.C., youth and elders, to sit down with people from the Department of Energy, Department of Defense, whoever, the government, and say, hey, this thing has gotten completely out of hand, and it's time to fix it. One good way is to stop the uncontrolled uranium minings, to quit using waters for nuclear reactors, and really put your minds on cleaning this nuclear
Well,
cycle.
why don't we go to the video? But before we go to the video, I have to say one thing. If my grandmother had to feed her family using these things, we probably never would have eaten. So,
Sounds a lot better.
Global Wounds video, DC.
DC.
All right, let's check it out.
My name is Harley Goodbear. I'm a head out Samandan from Newtown, North Dakota, the Fort Berthold Indian Reservation. Grateful here to be a part of the activities regarding healing global wounds from Mother Earth and the nuclear waste that are being deposited on various sites and nuclear testing sites in Nevada and all across Indian country.
When they wooed a young woman to be their wife, or their courting songs, they played this song outside of their teepee, and it was disrespectful to be seen talking to a young maiden that was a virgin and wasn't married yet, and a warrior or an elder or somebody older it was disrespectful to be seen talking to them. So this was the way that they communicated with that girl, and they played a love song for her on this flute. And if she came out of her teepee and acknowledged him, maybe waved at him, smiled at him, or came out to get water or get wood, well, that was just as good as a yes for marriage. He was going to marry that woman.
Now, while the video was going on, we were doing a lot of stuff here in the kitchen. You want to fill us in on what was going on?
Yeah, we put the blue cornmeal in the water, about equal parts water and cornmeal, maybe a little bit more water if it looks like it's starting to get too thick. And you turn it down so it cooks just like oatmeal or any other kind of grain cereal that you cook. You just let it cook gently, not too hot. The berries are cooking down. I drained some of the extra liquid out of them, and they're just cooked down. And we're going to put a little bit of honey in there in the wojate.
Okay, the wojate. I'm looking forward to trying that. Now, the Global Wounds Powwow, DC. What other things were discussed there? Or it's just coming together of native peoples?
It was a traditional dance of to make a plea to the spiritual world that the powers that be, the governments, will come to an understanding that this relentless desecration of the earth has got to come to a halt.
It's got to stop.
Yes. And it's just a way of praying, bringing people together, and continuing our ways. You know?
I know that one of the things that the native peoples used to do was, before they did an action, it was, how will this affect several generations?
7 generations.
7 generations.
7
down.
generations.
And it looks like the last couple of generations, it's like now, me, and forget about the future. And
Right.
that's got to
The
change.
me generation.
The me generation.
We've got to go into the 7th generation. Consider, the 7 generations behind you. Consider 7 generations in front of you. That's just why Native Youth Alliance was founded, is that we might think about our 7 generations to come, and to remember that balance of creation of the male and the female energies. This is how the native peoples of this continent believe, is that the balance of creation is male and female. That other people believe there's a good and an evil, that's the balance. We don't quite understand that one. When we have our families, there's a male, there's a female. Our corn, there's a male corn, a female corn. The rocks, everything that we use. The rains, there's a male rain, there's a female rain. A thunderstorm would be considered a male rain. A nice mist would be considered a female rain. A nice nurturing, caring, gentle rain, a female rain. This is the balance. And this is what we're try to carry with us. We're going to do a spiritual journey, a run that I'd like Shoshana to talk a little
other
bit about.
projects,
Other projects
that the Native Youth Alliance is doing. Now, the spiritual journey, what exactly is that?
The spiritual journey is a prayer run. We're going to be hoping that every mile will be run. It's approximately 500 miles. We're going to start at Diablo Canyon Nuclear Power Plant.
Diablo Canyon.
Right,
California.
it's right outside.
In California.
In California. It's right outside San Luis Obispo. And it's
Built on an earthquake fault?
On an earthquake.
That's
and
thinking. That's
not
thinking.
only that's real smart thinking. But it's also built on Chumash burial grounds, where the Chumash people there have been burying their people for the hundreds of years. All along the coast there's burial sites. So that's where we're going to start. We're going to have ceremonies there. Wednesday, April 6th, we'll have a sunrise ceremony there with the Chumash people. We have some elders there who are going to lead ceremony for us. And we're going to journey across to Ward Valley, California, which is over near Needles. It's on the eastern side of the state. We're going to cross the Mojave Desert, go to Ward Valley, which sits on an underground aquifer, which is a very essential water source for all the nations there along the Colorado River, the Chemehuevi, the Mojave, other nations. And it goes all the way down into Phoenix and provides a lot of water for Phoenix, Arizona, which is a large metropolitan
that in danger of being polluted? Or
They want to put what's called a low-level nuclear waste dump there.
Low level.
Well, so I guess like the difference between low-level waste and high-level waste is the difference between being a little pregnant and a lot of pregnant.
Yeah.
I suppose.
Something
like that.
Okay. Well,
So low-level dumps, because they don't have to be as carefully monitored, or they don't have to be in containers that will contain the material for as long, are potentially more dangerous than high-level dumps. And this one...
more dangerous than,
more dangerous.
than this blue corn gruel.
That's bubbling a little too fast. I'm going to put this lid back on here.
You're in charge there.
At Ward Valley, we're going to meet up with the Mojave and the Chemehuevi people and continue this spiritual journey. What we want to do is that it's going to be spiritual. That we're not out here protesting. We're not out here, trying to make anybody mad. We're just saying that this nuclear reactor is already done. We want it to be safe. We don't want no nuclear disaster in San Luis Obispo. That's why we're going to pray with the Chumash. When we go to Ward Valley, we're going to pray with the Mojave and the Chemehuevi. Pray that that this low-level nuclear waste dump doesn't be put here, because there's an aquifer under there that uses the whole Southwest.
Right.
It's also what's happening where the run is going to end up on the Hualapai Reservation. The people there, the Hualapai Nation from Peach Springs, Arizona, have, I think, successfully now fought the idea of having uranium mining done on their land. But now they are fighting also a dump that's proposed. That's where the journey is going to end up. We'll have ceremonies there with the Hualapai people also.
Now, the other project that the Native Youth Alliance is doing is the camp.
Youth camp. Yeah,
The
we're
youth
doing
camp.
youth camp this summer. They're in Lawrence, Kansas, which is where Haskell Indian Junior College is. Also, the University of Kansas is there. They've been having problems there for some years now. There have been a lot of what they call unexplained deaths of Native men. Some of them have been explained, and some of them... So that's having a big effect on the children there. Yeah. These young people now for several years have been growing up with the fact that, and the knowledge that Native American people are not valued there, they're not respected, and that their lives are in danger.
Well, it smells great. I think we might be ready to serve here.
Okay.
Now, before we eat, is there some sort of ceremony that takes place, or?
Before Native peoples do basically anything, there's always a prayer service, always a thank you to our generations behind us for keeping these things alive. Thank you, our elders. Thank you, our woman nation. You know, thank you, this corn.
We're rapidly running out of time, but first I want to thank you for finding time in your schedule. I know you're getting ready to travel the length and breadth of this country of ours, this actually is country of yours, to just try to save it. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Say thank you to Politically Correct Cooking for having us here. And thank you for these sacred foods. Thank you for our woman nation. And thank you to the people who view this program, you know, that they might have some way to help this healing of our earth that is so desperately needed at this time, you know, and that we might build bridges between our races, our nations, our religions, that we can all be happy with, you know, our country here, United States of America, and our government, and that our government does the right thing, and bless our leaders, you know.
Well, thank you for being here.
Thank you.
It was a very good show.
Thank you.